My stepsons told me, "Shut up, you're nobody here." So I walked away, taking the house, the money, and every comfort with me. It didn't take them long to realize who the real nobody was. Don't forget to subscribe and share your experiences below. Let's get started. My name's Dan. I'm 42. I've spent most of my life fixing broken things. Walls split by mold, rotted porch beams, leaky roofs. Give me a collapsed ceiling and I'll give you back shelter. Give me a shattered chair and I'll give you back the dignity of sitting. I always believed, in some naive corner of my chest, that maybe if I could mend wood and wires, I could fix people too. That belief led me to Claire. She was quiet in a way that seemed earned. Not shy, just subdued. An accountant from Portland with 2 kids and eyes that looked like they used to laugh more than they do now. We met at a charity dinner she almost skipped. I remember she wore navy. She talked about tax law like it was poetry. I was in flannel. I talked about cedar grain like it was scripture. 2 worlds. But for a moment they overlapped. Claire felt like a second draft at life. No wild fireworks. Just the soft return of warmth I thought I'd lost for good. She had kids, Tyler, 14, and Lily, 11, and though I'd never had children of my own, I told myself I could learn. I wasn't aiming to be their father. Just a presence. Steady, quiet, dependable. But what no one tells you is this. Some things you don't get to repair. Not because you're not skilled, but because someone else keeps breaking what you're trying to hold together. That someone was Mark, her ex-husband. The phantom still orbiting their lives with perfect timing and none of the weight. He was the fun dad. The one who brought gifts when it was convenient, made big promises, then disappeared. He'd show up on the driveway with sneakers Tyler didn't need, or earrings Lily wasn't allowed to wear, and take them for weekends filled with junk food and cheap validation. And every time they came back, it was like they'd been freshly reminded that I wasn't blood. Mark poisoned the well slowly. "Dan's just the guy who lives here," I overheard Tyler say once, talking into his phone. Lily said to Claire at dinner, "Do we have to say thank you?" Mark said, "You're paying him to stay." Claire didn't correct them. She never corrected them. First, I excused it. I told myself they were kids, confused, caught between 2 homes, 2 men. I built them a treehouse anyway. Took Lily to math tutoring. Taught Tyler how to change oil in a car he wasn't old enough to drive yet. I paid for their clothes, their school lunches, the braces, the piano lessons, the Wi-Fi. But while I was building a home, Mark was feeding them the idea that I was just a filler. Temporary. Optional. I tucked them in. He'd whisper that I wasn't their real dad. And Claire just watched. Always said she didn't want to start a fight. So I fought alone. And something in me started to crack. Subtle at first, when love becomes effort. When you go from eager to exhausted. It's one thing to pay for a child's braces. It's another to sit in a waiting room for 2 hours while the kid texts their real dad about summer plans. It's one thing to fix the dishwasher after a long day. It's another to be told, "Mark says we used to eat out more before you came." They said that, word for word. Sitting at the dinner table I built with my own hands. You tell yourself to be patient, to endure. You tell yourself that maybe next year they'll see what you've done. But they don't. Mark doesn't make custody threats. He doesn't need to. His power isn't legal. It's emotional. He arrives always late, always loud, always with an armload of promises he never keeps. But he smiles bigger than I do. He takes them bowling. He buys them pizza. He lets them swear in the car and puts music on with lyrics that would have gotten me kicked out of the PTA. He's not a father. He's a weapon. A living reminder of what I'm not. And Claire lets it happen. She tells me she's tired, that she's trying, that she doesn't want to push too hard or the kids will hate her too. That word stuck in my throat like splinters. But I keep showing up. Every game. Every recital. Every time Tyler forgets his gym bag or Lily leaves her textbook at school. I'm there. Always. You'd think that would count for something. But in our house, love was weighted and mine never seemed to balance the scale. The first time I noticed the rot wasn't on a wall or in the floorboards. It was in the way Tyler looked at me. He came home from one of Mark's weekends with a hoodie that probably cost more than my boots. I said gently, You've already got 3 new ones this year. Just that. Not even a take it back or you're spoiled. Just an observation. He muttered. Mark says at least he knows how to treat family. I looked at Claire. She stirred her coffee and said nothing. That silence was worse than the insult. That silence was permission. I've never wanted to be a father by force. I never asked for obedience or devotion. But I had earned a place, and every time she stayed quiet, she helped erase it. People think the big betrayals are what break you. It's not. It's death by paper cuts. It's Claire saying, don't take it personally. It's Tyler saying, you don't get it, you're not a dad. It's Lily walking past me like I'm a stranger. After I stayed up with her all night for a science project she didn't even thank me for. It's being the reason the lights stay on, and still being treated like a squatter in your own home. They think I'm stupid, that I don't hear the late-night FaceTimes with Mark, that I don't see the bags he drops off with his name written in Sharpie on the tags. From Dad. Always in big bold letters. They think I don't know he tells them Claire settled. That she only married me because I was safe. Because I had a steady income and a house with a basement. Maybe he's right. Maybe she did settle. But here's the thing about being safe. It means I was the one who kept them fed. Who stayed. Who sacrificed. Who swallowed disrespect like aspirin and kept showing up. Until one day I didn't want to anymore. But that day hadn't come yet. Not then. Then I was still trying. Still sanding down the edges. Still showing up with groceries and fixing leaky pipes and putting gas in their car without being asked. Still pretending that my love, this invisible, bleeding thing, would someday be enough. But something was changing. The house felt colder, even when the furnace ran hot. Tyler locked his door more. Lily called Mark Daddy. Again. Loud enough for me to hear. Claire made excuses that didn't even sound convincing anymore. They're teenagers. They'll grow out of it. Don't give up. But they had already given up on me. And Claire, she never defended me. Not once. It's a strange thing to pay the bills for a house you don't feel welcome in. To buy groceries for mouths that don't speak your name. To be the only adult acting like one. And still be the one left outside every inside joke. Every group photo. Every whispered conversation between blood that you'll never be part of. And yet, I stayed. Because I believed in repair. I believed in effort. But not everything broken deserves to be fixed. Not every door should stay open. Some need to be locked. Some need to be slammed. And eventually, I'd stop turning the other cheek. Eventually, I'd stop building bridges and start burning them. But not yet. First, the cracks had to spread. First, I had to hear the words that would end it all. The first crack wasn't a shout. It wasn't a slammed door or a dramatic confrontation. It was a pair of sneakers. Tyler wanted the latest drop, name brand, hyped online, the kind of shoes you wait in digital queues for. Price tag, $249. He sent me the link on a Thursday night. No greeting, no please. Just a message like a receipt I hadn't paid yet. I stared at the screen. Replied, we've spent a lot already this month. Maybe next time. He replied within seconds. Mark would have bought them. Just that. Cold. Clean. Like a knife wiped before it goes in. I showed the message to Claire. She shrugged. He's a teenager. That was her refrain. Her gospel of excuses. Teenagers are moody. Teenagers are ungrateful. Teenagers test boundaries. But no one ever said what happens when they never stop testing. When they blow through the last line you've drawn and keep walking. When testing becomes permanent. I didn't reply to Tyler. The next day, he walked into the kitchen with those shoes on his feet. Brand new. Tag still in the trash can. Mark had ordered them, overnight shipping. Claire didn't say a word. I asked her later if she thought that was fair. If she understood what message that sent. She said, you said no. So Mark stepped in. That's not about you. But it was. Everything was. Tyler started closing doors when I entered a room. Lily stopped saying goodnight. They stopped asking me for help. Not because they didn't need it, but because they'd rather fail than owe me. I offered to help Tyler study for his math exam. He said, I'll wait till I see Dad. He explains things better. I watched Claire stir soup at the stove. She didn't look up. I started to feel like a stranger in the life I'd built. Like I had stumbled into someone else's movie halfway through and was waiting to be asked to leave. And then came the party. Friday night. I came home from a long week. Contractor delays, invoices bouncing, one of my clients threatening to pull out. I was already tired before I even turned the key in the lock. The music hit me first. Loud. Bass shaking the hardwood I had installed with my own hands. Laughter echoing down the stairs. Tyler's friends. Maybe 10, maybe 20. No one even noticed me walk in. I made my way to the living room. Empty cups, the smell of cheap cologne and beer. I caught a kid stumbling down the hallway, laughing about how the old guy's home. I asked Tyler what was going on. He was standing on the couch, phone in hand, filming something for social media. He didn't turn when he said, "Chill, it's just a few people." I stepped forward, firm, calm. This wasn't disgust. You don't throw parties here without asking. He turned then, smirking. "This isn't your house." The room went still. Lily was sitting on the stairs with two of her friends. One of them giggled and whispered something. Lily laughed. He said it louder. "You're not even our dad. You don't get to make rules." I opened my mouth, but then Lily added her own twist. "Mom just keeps you around for the money anyway." That was the moment. The one you don't come back from. There's a certain kind of silence that hits after a public execution, not of a body but of dignity, of position, of everything you thought you'd earned. That silence filled the house. No one spoke. No one defended me. Claire didn't come downstairs. I stood there, surrounded by noise, by kids I didn't know, in a house I had rebuilt from floor to ceiling. The drywall, the fixtures, the paint on the banister, all mine. My work, my sweat. And I stood there like a tenant being evicted. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just turned and left the room. Walked out the back door into the cold October air. Stood on the deck and stared out into the yard. The place I'd installed lights for late summer dinners. The place where I'd grilled burgers while the kids splashed in the inflatable pool. The same kids who now laughed at my back. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at the dining room table, alone, staring at the remains of their party. A solo cup knocked over, a greasy pizza box half open, a hoodie someone left on the floor. All of it felt like graffiti, like proof I didn't belong. I waited for Claire to come down. She didn't. The next morning, no one apologized. No one mentioned it at all. Tyler said morning like nothing had happened. Lily asked if she could go to the mall. Claire made coffee. I asked her, calmly, quietly, if she'd heard what they said. She looked me in the eyes and said, "They're just kids, Dan." That was it. No follow-up. No, I'll talk to them. No, I'm sorry. Just that. Just kids. But I wasn't just anything. I was the man who paid the mortgage. The man who fixed the roof when it caved in. The man who bought birthday presents, even when they rolled their eyes opening them. The man who installed Claire's new home office. The man who made space, in his house, in his wallet, in his damn heart, for 3 people who never made space for him. And now I was the man who had finally hit his limit. There is a moment in every carpenter's life where you stop patching rot and admit the wood is dead. You can keep sanding, keep staining, but the foundation's gone. You have to tear it out. Start again. That Saturday I looked at my family, or what I had once dared to call a family, and I saw rot all the way through. And I realized something I should have seen years earlier. I wasn't a husband. I wasn't a stepfather. I was a contractor, and the project was over. The love I'd poured in wasn't valued. The time I gave wasn't remembered. The money I spent was expected. My presence was tolerated until it got in the way. That night, I stood in the garage, staring at the workbench I'd built with Tyler. The one he never used. The one I had hoped would become our space. Father and son, side by side, building something that would outlast both of us. It gathered dust now, just like me. I took one last look at the house. Every hallway, every corner, every room whispered the same thing. You don't belong here. I went upstairs. Claire was in bed, scrolling through her phone. I said, We need to talk. She didn't look up. What about? About what happens next. Now she looked. What do you mean? I didn't answer. I just turned. Walked out. Because what happens next would be silence. Would be emptiness. Would be justice. And for once, I was done fixing things. I would let the cracks widen. I would let it all fall. Let them feel the cold they'd made. Let them live in the house they'd built, without me holding the beams up. Because the night I became nobody was the night I started to become free. Dawn came gray and silent, the kind of light that doesn't promise a new day, just exposure. I hadn't slept. I didn't need to. My decision was already sealed in the quiet hours between midnight and 4, while the house breathed softly above me, oblivious to what was coming. I moved through the rooms like a ghost. There's a strange calm that comes when you've finally stopped hoping. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is noisy, it needs witnesses. What I felt was colder. A stillness that settles once the final nail is driven into the coffin of a life you tried too hard to keep alive. I started in Tyler's room. Posters of athletes he never met, sneakers in neat rows, all paid for by me. I folded each shirt carefully, like I was handling the aftermath of something sacred. The act wasn't revenge. It was ritual. The end of a contract. Then Lily's room. Soft colors, books stacked by the window. The little lamp I'd rewired when it shorted out last winter, still glowing faintly from a nightlight bulb. I unplugged it. I boxed everything, sealed it with tape, labeled each lid in thick black marker. Tyler, Lily, Claire. The house looked cleaner with the boxes lined up by the door. Lighter somehow. Less confused about what it was. At sunrise, I loaded them into my truck. The street was still quiet. No witnesses except the occasional jogger, the sound of birds waking. I drove across town to Mark's apartment, the ghost's den, the man who lived off nostalgia and guilt. His place looked exactly as I expected. Rusted balcony railings, curtains that didn't match, 2 empty beer bottles on the windowsill, the universal flag of the irresponsible. I knocked until he opened. He was shirtless, eyes swollen, confusion turning to irritation. What the hell are you doing here? I gestured to the boxes. Returning what's yours. He blinked, still half drunk. What? Your kids. Your responsibility. Your noise. You wanted to be their father, now you are. Full-time. For a second he laughed, thought it was a joke. Then he saw my eyes and stopped. Dan, come on, you can't just... I cut him off. I can. And I did. The accounts are closed. The cards are frozen. From today forward, you pay for your own name. He stared at the boxes stacked on his doorstep like they were explosives. Claire's gonna lose her mind. I nodded. She already did. A long time ago. I left before he could say anything else. By the time I got home, the sun was up, painting the kitchen gold like it was mocking me. Claire was there, in her robe, eyes wide with confusion that would soon turn to horror. Where are the kids' things? Returned, I said. Returned? What does that even mean? I leaned against the counter, calm as stone. It means I drove them to their father's place. He's their real parent, remember? He can handle it from here. Her mouth opened, then closed. You didn't. I did. You're insane. You can't just... I can do anything, I said. Especially when I'm nobody here. That stopped her. The phone started buzzing within minutes. Mark calling first, then Tyler, then Lily. I let every call die in silence. Claire shouted, cried, begged. Her words were just noise now, like wind against a window you stopped bothering to close. By noon, the house was empty. Not of things, of presence. I changed the locks, shut down every joint account, called the bank and stripped her cards of my name. When they asked if I wanted to proceed with full authorization removal, I said yes without hesitation. I left just enough in the shared checking for 1 week's groceries. A courtesy. Nothing more. Then I waited. The first calls were angry. Tyler shouting, "You can't do this. You're ruining everything." I didn't answer. Then Lily's message came, her voice trembling, small. "I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't mean what I said. Please, come get us. The message ended with a sob I could almost see. Claire's came next. Long broken. I should have stopped them. I should have defended you. I just didn't know how. I almost believed her. Almost. But silence is a choice. And hers had been louder than their words. By day 3, the tone of the messages shifted. The arrogance melted. Reality had arrived. Dan, there's no food here, Tyler said. Mark sleeps all day. The fridge is empty. Can you please just... I deleted it halfway through. That same night, I got another one from Lily. We can't stay here. Please. He's not like you. For the first time, I felt something sharp. Not pity, not love. Recognition. The slow, creeping awareness that maybe now, for the first time, they understood. I poured myself a drink. Sat on the porch. Listened to the silence that used to scare me. Now it felt earned. By the end of the week, Claire showed up. No makeup, no mask, no excuses. Just hollow eyes and hands that trembled. Dan, she said, standing on the porch, please, they need to come home. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman I once thought I could build a future with. The one who watched me crumble piece by piece and said nothing. Home? I asked. This isn't their home. It's mine. They made that clear. She bit her lip, swallowed hard. You proved your point, okay? You've punished us enough. Punished? I repeated. No. I've just stopped paying rent on someone else's house. She stepped closer. You're not like this. You're kind. You're steady. I shook my head. No, Claire. I was kind. I was steady. You mistook endurance for weakness. You mistook love for debt. I'm just done. Tears welled in her eyes. You're leaving us to suffer. I didn't blink. You left me to suffer for years. I just didn't call it that. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The wind moved through the trees, brushing the chimes she'd hung on the porch. The same ones I'd installed for her birthday. The sound used to soothe me. Now it sounded like ghosts rattling their chains. She whispered, "They miss you." "I know," I said. "That's how lessons work." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Do you hate us?" "No," I said. "I hate what we became." When she drove away, the gravel crunched under her tires like slow applause. The days after that felt clean. The air lighter. I started cooking for one again, small meals, no leftovers. I slept through the night without the weight of unspoken resentment pressing on my chest. The house, stripped of noise, finally felt honest. And yet, sometimes late at night, I'd hear echoes. Lily's laugh, Tyler's footsteps, Claire humming in the kitchen. Ghosts, all of them. But ghosts don't haunt where they're unwelcome. Eventually, even echoes fade. On the 7th day, I got one last message from Claire. "We're coming by. The kids want to talk. Please let us in." I didn't reply. They came anyway. I saw them through the window. The 3 of them, standing in the cold, bundled up, uncertain. Like mourners after a funeral they weren't invited to. I almost opened the door. Almost. But then I remembered Lily's words. Mom keeps him around for the money. I remembered Tyler's smirk. "You're nobody here." And I realized that opening the door wouldn't be kindness. It would be relapse. So I turned away. Their knocks faded. Their shadows disappeared down the driveway. The house stayed quiet. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a man abandoned by his family. I felt like a man who had finally left the fire. Because sometimes walking away isn't cruelty. It's clarity. And if they ever learn that, maybe they'll understand what I was trying to build before they tore it down. It was a week before I opened the door. Not because I forgave them. Not because anything had changed. But because silence, even when righteous, can become its own prison. I hadn't built my life to be alone. I just stopped letting myself be erased in a home that wore my sacrifices like wallpaper. They came back together. Claire, Tyler, Lily. Not the way they used to, loud and entitled, but quiet. As if the driveway itself demanded reverence. As if the porch had become sacred ground they no longer assumed they had a right to cross. Claire's hands were folded in front of her, white-knuckled. Tyler looked older, not in years, but in the way people do when the weight of consequence finally settles across their shoulders. Lily stood slightly behind them, her eyes cast downward, hair tied back like she didn't want to look like the girl who once laughed at my back. I didn't speak, just stepped aside. Inside, no one moved to sit. No one asked what was for dinner. The house itself seemed to listen. Tyler was the first to speak. We were wrong. No eye contact. Just truth forced out like splinters. Lily nodded. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't mean it. I thought if I took your side, I'd lose him. Her voice cracked. I didn't move. Claire took a breath. The kind you take when you've rehearsed 100 lines and none of them are right. I failed you, she said. I let their father write your role in this family. I didn't correct it. I didn't protect you. I thought staying neutral meant keeping peace, but it just meant letting the wrong voices grow louder. It was the first time she had ever said it. Out loud. With weight. Still, I didn't speak. Tyler cleared his throat. We didn't realize how much you held together until it was gone. Mark. He stopped. Tried again. He's not who we thought he was. He's nothing like you. Lily stepped forward. Please let us come back. I looked at all three of them. Not as family. Not as people who owed me an apology. But as applicants. Guests. Petitioners. You can come back, I said finally. But it won't be like before. They nodded quickly, too quickly. I'm not your father. You made that clear. But I was the one who fed you, clothed you, fought for you. That earned me something. If not love, then respect. Claire whispered. Of course. No, I said sharper. Not of course. Respect isn't assumed anymore. It's proven. I laid down the rules. There would be chores. Real ones. Not the kind they pretended to forget. There would be boundaries. No more Mark. No more comparisons. No more ghosts dragging mud into this house. And there would be silence, earned, honored silence. No slamming doors. No disrespect. Claire would go to therapy. With or without them. And I would stop giving without receiving. No more financing silence. No more pretending my value could be measured by how much I could provide. I'd earned my seat at the table. I wasn't going to beg for it again. First, the air was cold. They moved like strangers, careful, cautious, trying not to trigger the edge of my patience. Claire started cooking again, not as an apology, but as presence. Lily cleaned the kitchen without being asked. Tyler took the trash out before I could get to it. Small things. Not love, but respect. I didn't soften. Not because I couldn't, but because they needed to feel what it was like to rebuild, with their own hands this time. Tyler started spending time in the garage. Not talking, just working. Sanding old wood, asking questions about tools he used to walk past without seeing. He fixed a chair that had been broken for 2 years. Left it at my workbench with no note. Lily began waking up early. Made coffee once. Brought it in quietly. Didn't say a word. Just left it on the counter. Then stepped away. Claire went to therapy. Once. Then twice. Then every week. She stopped making excuses. Started making eye contact. The silence between us wasn't gone. But it had changed. It was no longer the silence of strangers. It was the silence of people relearning how to speak. One night, weeks later, I came home to the smell of food. Real food. Tyler was setting the table. Lily was lighting candles. Claire looked tired, but in a different way. Like someone rebuilding from a storm, not surviving one. We sat. No shouting. No slamming. Halfway through the meal, Tyler cleared his throat. I know you said we don't have to call you Dad. And I get that. I really do. He paused. But you did more for us than he ever did. And I see that now. I didn't before. I was a kid and I was stupid. But I see it now. I nodded. Didn't reply. I didn't need to. He wasn't offering me a title. He was offering truth. Later that night, after the dishes were done and the lights were off, I stood in the hallway and listened. The house was quiet. Not empty. Not cold. Just quiet. Respect had returned. Not as a gift, but as a result. A consequence of what I'd taken away and what I refused to give back until it was earned. We weren't a family. Not yet. Maybe never again. But we were something new. Something honest. And for the first time, I wasn't trying to fix anything. I wasn't holding it all together by sheer will. I was watching them do the work. Watching them carry weight they used to pretend didn't exist. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. They still called Mark. I heard his voice sometimes, faint through their phones. But they didn't praise him anymore. Didn't compare him to me. They spoke to him the way you speak to a distant cousin. Out of obligation, not admiration. He faded from the walls like smoke after a fire. His name stopped being a weapon, just a reminder of what they lost when they mistook blood for love. One morning, Lily left a note on the counter. Handwritten, folded neatly. Dan, thank you for not giving up on us. I wouldn't have blamed you if you did. But I'm glad you didn't. I'm trying. I hope you see that. I folded it and tucked it in my toolbox. Next to the broken drill I'd kept for years, the one I never threw away, because I believed anything could be fixed with enough time. Maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe some things stay broken. But maybe broken isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning of building something new. Not love, but respect. And sometimes that's the more honest foundation. So tell me, after all of this, after the lies, the silence, the years of carrying a family that called me a stranger, was I wrong to walk away, even if I came back on my terms? Would you have stayed when every sign told you to leave? Or would you, like me, wait not for love, but for something that doesn't lie when it's tested? Would you wait for respect?